what's up guys? This is Brian at Whisper Status 74. This is a video on the Vizio Quantum X P-Series HDMI 5. It's a non-HDR, low latency, low input lag port that is on the Vizio Quantum X P-Series for gaming, both PC and console. It doesn't have HDR. It does have a noticeable difference in input lag. We will show you on ratings.com the differences between non-HDR, or I should say HDMI 1 through 4, in comparison to HDMI 5. It is very useful for multiplayer and, like I said, lower input lag and lower latency. It's a non-often talked about feature that is indigenous to Vizio, that is kind of brought up in reviews or brought up in its specs, but not really used often, or shouldn't be overlooked, I should say. I've been using it for the last month, playing Modern Warfare on the Xbox One X, and today we're going to see what the difference is, not only in responsiveness as we play, but also in its image quality. Some of you guys love HDR in gaming, some of you dislike it. HDMI 5 is perfect for PC users that don't really care about HDR, but want the lowest latency and lowest input lag possible. For me, I love HDR in most of my titles. Modern Warfare is an interesting one. It's kind of a muddy picture in terms of its multiplayer. The campaign is a whole nother situation. But I have found that playing it on HDMI 5 has been a joy. And we're going to talk about it as I film us playing various private matches against bots, so we can focus on the dialogue and talk about the responsiveness and see again if it hinders the image quality at all. Keep in mind, Modern Warfare is again a muddy title, and taking away HDR, we're going to see how much it impacts. I'm going to film it in HDR. Whether my editing software will let it be in HDR remains to be seen, but you will see a difference in how the image looks. You will definitely have to change the slider. I will also change HDR, not just by moving the ports. I will disable it at the system settings with the Xbox One X. Though I haven't found it to look any different, I will do that just to make sure that it's all native. We'll be going from HDMI 5 to HDMI 4. We'll also look at ratings.com and see what the differences are in input lag by the numbers, and we'll show some footage. You guys tell me what you think in the comments. All right, let's get to it. All right, guys, this is HDMI 4. This is with HDR. We're just going to show it to you here. You can look up at the banner, HDR 10. Now, what I've realized, too, in order to do this comparison, not only do I need to switch the HDMIs, go in and also switch the settings, which you're going to see here, where you'll see all the way at the bottom, HDR calibration. Just lower that down a little bit. That when I take out HDR, all that'll have to be reset. I have to also quit the game. So we're going to start back right here we were, and I will show you right here. You see my hand, it's pretty responsive. Now we're going to switch to HDMI 5. This is HDMI 5. No HDR. So just to show you the difference between the two, get up top to the banner, HDR is gone. Go into your system settings. If you want to do this at home, if you have two different displays, you're going to have to actually quit the game every time. Unplugging it, here you go, there's no more HDR. You're going to have to unplug it. Even powering it off doesn't make a difference. You'll have to go in and shut off the game. I'm sorry, go in and quit the app. Doesn't matter if you restart the Xbox or restart your TV or anything. Even my Sony, it wouldn't work, and I went back. I lost HDR for a while, and I couldn't re-enable it. You'll need to quit the app every time you make this discovery or make this change. So it is much more responsive at this input. It's actually not close. And what's interesting for those of you that very much dislike HDR, a lot of times you can see why. Without HDR, the image is actually a little bit more vibrant. You're lacking some of the depth in the sky, but it is a cleaner image in some ways. but you can actually see it's instantaneous. Now the input lag wasn't terrible. Now I know it looks blurry to you guys because it's not at 4K 60. The filming isn't, but there's no motion issues here at all. The pixel response to the Vizio Quantum X P-Series is actually very quick. All right, we'll change to another map. Now here we are at Hill, which is one of the gunplay or gun game maps. Unfortunately, none of the maps in this game are very vibrant, but let's take a look at the skybox here. And we're going to switch out, restart the game, and go back to HDR and input the next input. Of course, it starts me in a different place, but HDR is back. Now the HDR is just a more colorful, deeper image. I will film these in HDR, but my point of the video is in HDMI 5, though you lose HDR, I wouldn't say you lose a ton of picture quality in a game like this. I'll compare other titles like Gears of War 4 and Gears of War 5. But even though it's still only 24, I believe, milliseconds, or was it 26? 26 milliseconds. It's amazing how HDMI 5 just feels so much more responsive. Though you can't tell it here. But you don't really take a hit in picture quality. If anything, as we've seen with HDR, you know, we'll go in here actually, and we'll look at that flame. All right, so that's HDR. HDMI 5. HDR is off. Now, I would say, me seeing it personally here, I know you guys can't see it the way I'm seeing it. Actually, for this title, I prefer HDMI, or prefer HDR off. It's got a much more clean, PC look to it. And the pickup in the speed is amazing. I mean, that 10 milliseconds, almost 11 milliseconds does make a huge difference. I mean, HDR definitely adds a little bit of a haze to it to make the game look more realistic. But for many of us gamers, you know, sharp and an image that pops is definitely something a lot of us prefer. But me, for the first time, kind of really playing with HDR on and off for this title, definitely, for me, looks better in HDMI 5 with that processing eliminated. And the pickup in speed is unreal. Now here we are, everybody's favorite Piccadilly. Again, let's check out to make sure that we are not in HDR. Info banner at the top. Again, we are in game mode. Make sure we start right at this corner. If anything, as we move around real quick, this is HDMI 5, very quick. Starting off right at this corner. Restarting. This is HDR on. Open the corner, HDR 10. Now I'll tell you, with a display as bright as the Vizio Quantum XP series, you would think you could ramp up a lot of these brightness settings for HDR. In reality, it's so bright you have to turn a lot of them down. But HDR4, or the other HDMI, I'm sorry, though still very responsive, the input lag is basically what's on my Sony 900E, which what I play with all the time, is definitely playable and definitely fine. And within a few games, you're easily used to it. But I will say HDMI 5 is definitely worth playing. It definitely feels much more responsive, and the image is cleaner, as HDR, in my opinion, has always been mismarketed as vibrancy. Yes, spectral highlights do pop more, but the rest of the image tends to be a little bit deeper, and the regular image, especially in games like Gears 5, are cleaner without HDR. Games like Forza Horizon 4 look real with HDR enabled, and they look cartoony without it. This isn't the best like for like, but we'll do several more videos on this. We'll do one more map. Okay, here we are again. This is Gunrunner. If anything, this comparison really shows you how bland the maps are on Call of Duty. Oh my gosh, they need new maps. Here we are, Gunrunner. This is with HDR enabled. Look around a little bit. We'll get right back to this bumper, right up against it. Looking up to the skybox, looking up to the smoke, and looking to the top of that. Be right back. HDMI 5. Ooh. What do you got going on? Camera's bugging out a little bit. Hold on a second. Try that again. HDMI 5. Sorry about that. So if anything, what you see, at least what I see, is the image is a little bit more washed out, but much cleaner. As HDR basically puts kind of an overlay over the entire image, making it look more realistic, but not exactly cleaner. Now both games, or both inputs, have the same exact game mode settings. That includes gamma. All I have to do is change the brightness a little bit when I go back in to calibrate in the HDR and brightness calibration. For those of you that have the Vizio, give HDMI 5 a shot. Tell me what you think about it. I've been playing it with multiplayer. I love it. I don't love it for single player, because I do like HDR in games like Horizon Zero Dawn, but it is very good in this instance. Now we'll finish up here playing some free-for-all against some bots. The bot difficulty is on high, but just to show you, not that you'll be able to see how quick it moves.
We have a personal radar drone ready for escort.
I will say I still do not love the reds on Vizio. No matter how much I mess with them, they're very difficult to change. Camera's on the way. Helps if I can actually see.
We have a personal radar drone ready for escort.
But again, try giving HDMI 5 a chance. The difference in picture quality, to me, it's actually cleaner without HDR. And definitely something that should be looked at in regards to the Vizio as being an addition and a strength. I know it's just thrown together at the end of reviews, but it really is something worth checking out. It is much more responsive. Alright guys, sorry about the weird comparison. I'll definitely film the next one in HDR. And I know the editing in the first video is going to have a random Joker picture in it, so I apologize for that. But that's the comparison. Alright guys, more Vizio Quantum X P-Series to come. I have to do much more videos on this. I know I've been all over the map, but I like to switch up the content. Alright guys, take care. Thank you as always.